Hello and welcome everybody to another edition of the Pride of the Poconos podcast. I am your host, Zach Sterniolo, joined as always by Pocono Record sports editor Mike Coons and sports writer Sean Suchy. Guys, how you doing?
Not bad after a 9-1 week.
No, that didn't
I'm
take long.
back.
9-1. And about that one loss, your own Redskins just did you in there.
You know what? It is what it is. I've gone through a lifetime of them letting me down. So what's one more time? It hurts a little bit more that it's against the Eagles, but I have to say the better team won. So Philadelphia, okay, they're 6-1. I'll watch them, dance off into the NFC East. You might as well crown them now because everyone else has. So away we go.
Never mind. Eagles winning that one 34-24. I'm the only one of us who ended up actually choosing the Eagles, but Sean and I both went 8-2. My two incorrect picks were USC and the Falcons. USC fell 49-14 to Notre Dame. Mike got that one right. Sean and I both bid on USC. And then, Sean, you also took on the Redskins there.
I did.
Well, I'm sorry.
Once again, the final game of the week ruins the perfect week for one of us. So that was a tough one for Mike. I thought the Redskins would have came out a little better, but the Eagles are looking good.
The Eagles, I think, obviously record-wise, they're the best in the NFL right now. But I think just all around, you look at everything that they're bringing to the field, they're just steady right now. So let's move on to this week's picks. It's rivalry week in high school football, which is always beautiful. Last week, the regular season. And the first one we're going to start with actually means a lot in the playoff run here. We got Pocono West on the road at district rival Pocono East. Mike, we'll start with you here. There's a lot on the line for both of these teams.
Close game too, and two teams that kind of mirror one another because they both have, first of all, very good linebackers, pretty good defenses overall, but very good linebackers. Pocono Mountain East with Jacob Keene, who's fantastic, and then across the way for Pocono West is going to be Greg Bensley, who I think are kind of, they both lead their respective teams at linebacker. They both like to run the football. East with Praise Andrews, who almost had another 200-yard game against Pleasant Valley last week. Pocono West has that dual-headed attack, if you will, at running back, which it kind of has aided them all year. It's worked well for them with Mussenden. I don't know which guy statistically is better, whether it's John St. Hilaire or Mussenden, but they're both pretty close. I think it just depends on the week. But that said, and they're both in pretty good shape as far as winning. Pocono West has won, I think, 5 in a row here now. I'm going to go with the Panthers. I don't, other than just a gut feel on this one, I think that they are both going to come down to defense and tackling and who can tackle the others running back. Certainly respect both teams and what they've done, but I'm just going to say the Panthers probably by a touchdown here.
Do you consider this game a must-win for the Panthers?
Well, it's a must-win for either one because, obviously the loser risks missing the playoffs. The winner is going to be in the playoffs most likely. And the loser, depending on who loses and the points, we'll talk about that, I guess, because Liberty at number 9, they take 8 teams in the playoff. Liberty is number 9, and they play Freedom. So if Liberty beats Freedom, they could leapfrog the loser of the East-West game.
And with Pocono West sitting 7th right now at 5-4, Pocono East sitting at
4 and 5, right. That's the bubble.
Right.
So as you can see, it's going to come down to math. And, if again, this is a big if. If Liberty beats Freedom, which could happen, Freedom is, 5-4. I wouldn't want to be the loser of that game and having to, wait on finding out the score of the Liberty Freedom game to find out, if you're in the playoffs or not.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Well, all right. So you're sticking with Pocono West on this one.
I'm going with the Panthers.
Sean, as a Cardinal grad yourself, who you got here in the rivalry game?
Yeah, it was very nice to see the Cardinals raise the bucket again last week. I saw some friends this weekend from alumni of East, and everyone is pretty hyped to see the Cardinals back. But I got to go with West here. I think they have more weapons. It would be nice to see both teams in the postseason here. But whoever draws that number 8 seed is going to have a real tough game against Parkland. So that'll be tough for either team. But I think I have to go with West to win this one.
Well, and I'll tell you what, that was a big win for Pocono East last week, a 28-19 win over Pleasant Valley in the old Oaken Bucket game there. But I'm sticking with the Panthers here as well. Coming off a 41-0 win over East Stroudsburg North last week, I feel like they've kind of got everything. I think they've finally found their sense of stability. And I think, like to your point, Mike, the running game between Jonathan St. Hilaire and Matt Musenden, the two-headed monster that they've been all season long, has been probably the most consistent running game in the league. I know you look at East Stroudsburg South and the two guys they have there as well, but I think the way that momentum is riding right now for the Panthers, I think they should come out on a Friday with a win over Pocono Mountain East. Let's move on to our next rivalry game. We've got Pleasant Valley on the road at Stroudsburg. Pleasant Valley coming off that 28-19 loss to Pocono East. Stroudsburg, its winning streak finally over. They lost 49-10 to Whitehall last week. I think they were on a 7-game winning streak in between weeks 1 and week 8. So that is over, but the Mounties have home field advantage here in week 10. Sean, we'll start with you. Who have you got?
Yeah, tough loss for Stroudsburg last week against a really good team, but I see them taking this one at home. I think they're going to want to come out quickly and try to finish this one quick and get back on the winning streak going into the playoffs.
Agreed with that, Mike.
Yeah, I think the thing for Stroudsburg here is what they want to find out is how Benning Pembleton is, who's going to return for this game. That's a big addition after losing him opening night. They get him back. So let's find out basically how he fits into the offense again, because, basically he's been, unheard of, or not unheard of, that's the wrong word. He's been not seen because of his injury. So now how do they use him? Do they design plays just for him? Do they, what role does he take on in this team? So that's for Coach Miller and his staff to decide. So I think if anything, they learn a little bit about themselves and who they are going forward. They're probably going to be the number 2 seed. So they'll obviously wait for an opponent, who falls at number 7. But I think Stroudsburg wins this game, but I think more importantly, they just kind of define who they are with Pembleton in their lineup.
And really, they have to figure out what they have right now, because last week of the regular season, you've got a playoff game one way or the other coming up on November 3rd, next Friday. I think Stroudsburg has to come out and figure out if they can fire off on all cylinders against a beaten-up opponent that is Pleasant Valley. And so I am picking the Mounties here to beat Pleasant Valley. But to your point, with Pembleton back in the lineup, I think he's junior wide receiver or slot receiver for them. It'll be interesting to see if they can get him the ball, what kind of frequency they try to get him the ball. He's a good player. He's shown a lot of, I guess, good leadership just while he's been out.
I think they might wonder, though, how durable is he? How much,
right.
Is he 100? I don't think that they would play him if they didn't know he was 100%. Obviously, a kid wants to play, at this time of year, and he's been cleared and all those kinds of things. So I think, maybe they'll just play him for half. Who knows? I think it'll be telling to watch. Those are the things that, as a fan, you watch and say, hey, how much are they using this guy? Are they going to play him one way? Those are other things, So what role does he take on?
Absolutely. Let's move on to our last high school game of the week. We've got East Stroudsburg South on the road at East Stroudsburg North. South coming off of a 49-46 win over Deerfield last week. They had a little bit of a scare there late in the second half of that one. East Stroudsburg North again coming off a 41-0 loss to Pocono Mountain West. Mike, we'll stick with you here. Who have you got?
Yeah, I think it's, this is South's game again to be had, and I think that, again, this is another one of those games. It's a preparation game for the 5A playoffs. It looks like they're going to align with Southern Lehigh in the first round of the 5A playoffs. So again, I think they want to just come out of this healthy. I think that's the number one thing for whether you're talking about Stroudsburg or East Stroudsburg South or either Pocono Mountain East or West, is you just want to come out of this week healthy. You don't want to see any kind of major injury, and I think that Ed Christian is going to be smart with that. He might even play some young kids, the second half. Just if anyone's dinged up, this is the chance where you want to get them healthy, going into that semifinal, into that 5A semifinal the following week.
Sean, who have you got here?
I think this may be a preview of the 5A championship game coming up here. So,
oh boy, oh man, that's beautiful.
So yeah,
that might be the funniest thing you've said on this podcast yet. No offense to North or South here, but no.
So yeah, two teams heading to the playoffs here. So South's offense has been clicking pretty well the past 2 or 3 weeks. North struggling. So I got to go with the Cavaliers to win this one.
I've got East Stroudsburg North going 0-10 this regular season. East Stroudsburg South, I mentioned them earlier. Their dual running back game with Ryan Clark and Sean Solomon has been lethal all season long. 2 weeks ago, they crushed Allen 73-13. I feel like they're going to want to probably run up the score again against a district rival here if they have the chance to. But to your point, Mike, I think they're going to want to keep everyone healthy. And so if they jump out that far, maybe they'll take their foot off the gas pedal a little bit. Just looking back at last week's game against Deerf, Ryan Clark, 25 carries, 213 yards, and a touchdown. He also had two catches for 62 yards and a 57-yard touchdown catch. Sean Solomon, he actually missed the game against Allen with some sort of an injury. Thankfully, they didn't need him in that one, but rejoined the Cavaliers last week, 15 carries, 107 yards, 3 touchdowns. I don't see them missing any beat against East Stroudsburg North here prior to this District 11 5A playoff run. Let's move on to our first college game of the week. East Stroudsburg University on the road at Westchester. ESU coming off a really disappointing homecoming loss to Bloomsburg. They were up, I think, by 14 at least in the third quarter there, and just fell apart to Bloomsburg. I think the final there was 38-28. Just a disappointing loss there. Sean, we'll start with you. Who have you got here with ESU and Westchester?
Going with Westchester, having a pretty good year this year, 6-2. It's one thing to have a tough game and get shut out, but it's a devastating loss for the Warriors last week, blowing it in the second half there. So that should be a tough game going to Westchester after the struggles of the second half last week.
Mike, who have you got here?
Yeah, Westchester's a better team right now. Sean touched on, when you lose a lead, and ESU has done it a couple of times this year now where they've blown halftime leads, and that can be demoralizing, especially, now they're in this point in the season where they're starting to look at, who they have to play, and the list is getting shorter and shorter. It's tougher for teams, when you're 2-6 and those kinds of things where you go, okay, we got to go to work today. We got to prepare for the next guy. And that gets tougher at, this point in the seasons. But, right now, ESU's in a tough spot, and they're going to face a good opponent in Westchester.
I'm going with Westchester here as well. I think, for me, until I see the Warriors able to complete a game, it's hard to stick with that. I think any win that they had in their sails going into halftime last week, but Bloomsburg certainly took it away. It's tough to rebound from any of that, especially on what was a big weekend. They started that game so strong, and then to fall apart the way they did, like you said, it's demoralizing. So I'm definitely sticking with Westchester here as well. Division I college football. We've got Penn State, number 2 in the country, 7-0. On the road at number 6, Ohio State, 6-1. Mike, we'll start with you.
Well, let me ask you this. This is what I hear from Penn State, people who are following Penn State, and they're asking, well, who is Penn State beaten? And they're playing their schedule, and until the victory over Michigan last week, well, Penn State hadn't beaten anybody. Well, Ohio State's kind of in the same boat. Ohio State's victories are against Army, UNLV, Rutgers, Maryland, and Nebraska. Well, that's not I'm not doing any cartwheels over Maryland and Nebraska right now. Who fears those guys?
Right.
And, I know that Army's having a good season, but it's Army, I think this is Penn State's game. I think there's just something about their season, whether you want to call it unfinished business, they won the Big Ten, but then they lost that heartbreaker in the Rose Bowl to USC. I think that there's just something about this team where they have been there before, and they want to get back to that spot. And you know what? I think they have even bigger aspirations than, the Rose Bowl. I think they feel like they're a national championship team, and they should feel that way. They haven't lost this year. They haven't, really been challenged other than Iowa on the road, who challenged them. And you know what? You're going to face challenges in the Big Ten when you go on the road, and they're going to face a challenge on, Saturday when they play Ohio State. But Ohio State, I think Penn State's defense is the unit that probably sets the tone. And then somewhere along the line, I trust Barkley to break a big play. And I know McSorley, has had a great year and all that kind of stuff. But to me, the offense runs through Barkley. And what better back in the nation to lean on than that guy?
Absolutely. Sean, we'll go to you here. Who have you got?
Yeah, it's very hard to pick against Penn State right now. They're looking so good, Barkley and McSorley. But I'm going with Ohio State here at home. Very tough place to play at.
I thought about that going into this. I'll let you finish here, but
Too soon?
In the Big Ten, it's always hard to play a conference opponent on the road. It's not a crazy pick. What makes you stick with Ohio State here? Is it just the home field advantage factor?
I think they're a good team, balanced defensively and offensively. Penn State took them down last year, but it took a fluky blocked field goal, popped right into the chest of a defender. It should be a great game, though, but I got to go with the home team.
I agree. It's going to be a great game. I'm sticking with Penn State here. I think, they're one of those teams that every once in a while, these teams get into a run where seemingly nothing can go wrong for them. Everything kind of just plays into their hand, and I feel like that's still the case right now for Penn State. I think, you just look at what Saquon Barkley has done game after game this year. You keep expecting at some point this flame's going to die out, but it just doesn't. He keeps going. Penn State's defense was able to contain Michigan's enough, and I think that's probably one of the bigger tests that they're going to have this season, but this is probably going to be the next one, probably the last really big test up until I know they got Michigan State next week, but I still think this is going to be the biggest test for them throughout the rest of this regular season. One more, actually, we've got two more college football games. We've got North Carolina State on the road at Notre Dame. Sean, we'll start with you here, even though Mike has his Irish luck going his way. Who have you got?
Yeah, I picked against Notre Dame last week, and I'm not going to do it again.
Come on.
Taking Notre Dame. USC looked terrible last week, and Notre Dame blew them out, so I'm taking the Irish.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I'm doing. I've been once, and I'm not falling for it again. I'm sticking with Notre Dame on this one.
Sean, USC didn't look terrible. Notre Dame just looked fantastic. That's what happens when you get a good quarterback who can scramble as well as throw the ball. A la McSorley, he's that, Winbush is that kind of guy where you go, oh my gosh, he ran for 100 yards in that game. It's like, whoa. And NC State, you know what? They beat Florida State. They beat Louisville. They're good. They're good. This is not going to be a cakewalk for Notre Dame. People think, Notre Dame now they're just going to cruise. No, I think this is a close game. I think Notre Dame's the better team. I'm taking the Irish. But it wouldn't surprise me if this is a 31-27 kind of game. That wouldn't surprise me at all.
Last college football game of the week, we've got Virginia on the road at Pittsburgh. This one should actually be interesting. I was a little skeptical when I first saw the matchup, but just looking at the numbers this season, fairly close teams here. Mike, I'll start with you.
I don't know who I trust, in this game. Virginia, they lost to Indiana. Not real good. They lost to Boston College 41-10. 41-10 to Boston College? Pittsburgh, it looks like they may have found a running back in Darren Hall, who had 254 yards rushing against Duke last week. You say, Duke's okay too, but they're not, this world beater either. So it's kind of like, who do you trust? I think it's a coin flip. I'm going to pick the Panthers. I'm going with Pittsburgh.
That's what I'm doing too. The game that stands out to me looking through their schedule was the 27-24 loss to Syracuse. Obviously, Syracuse is a great team. Took down Clemson earlier this year. Pittsburgh has really struggled to find its rhythm all season long. Maybe they've found something they can rely on. They're sitting at 3-5 right now. Virginia is at 5-2. Maybe Virginia falls in to a little bit of a lull and underestimates the Panthers. This one's going to be an interesting game, but I am sticking with Pittsburgh here. Sean?
Yeah, it should be a close matchup between two mediocre ACC teams.
Yeah, no, that's accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm going with Pittsburgh at home. Their offense, they played them last year at Virginia, and they put up like 49 points, I think. So
much different offense then.
Yeah, I got to take Pittsburgh at home here.
NFL this week: Falcons, Jets. Sean, who have you got? You had you chose wisely, not falling into the Falcons trap like I did last week. So who have you got this week?
Yeah, bad loss last week for the Falcons. They seem to be playing not towards their strengths much. New offensive coordinator seemed to change it up a little bit, but I got to go with the Falcons here against the Jets. Jets loss against the Dolphins was pretty okay game, I guess, back and forth, but I got to go with the Falcons.
Mike, who have you got in this one?
Jets ruined their draft again, and they're going to pull a little mini upset by beating the Falcons this weekend. Don't ask me why. I think their defense is okay. I don't know. It seems to be on a week-to-week basis, though, as far as they look okay one week and then they look kind of average to below average the next. I like the Jets' defensive line. It would be interesting to see how Matt Ryan, he's another player I can't really figure out what's going on there, who looks real good one day and then the next he looks very average. So I don't know if the Falcons are in some kind of Super Bowl snoozer here and they just are I don't know. Are they an 8-8 team or are they a team that's better than that? They're not looking really any better than that. And right now, the Jets are kind of looking like they could be 8-8 too. So maybe they think that they got a wild card chance here, but I'm going to go with the Jets.
The Jets are kind of one of those teams, at least this year, from what I can tell, seems to be playing to the level of the team that they're playing. They seem to either play up to their opponent or down to it. So look at a couple weeks ago, it was a close loss against the Patriots. Falcons only put up 7 points against the Patriots. I'm still sticking with Atlanta. I know they bit me last week, but I'm hoping that they can pull it off this week against the Jets. I don't trust the Jets.
Why would you? Why would you?
I can't.
You can't. You don't know what you're going to get.
Right. And really, at this point, I don't know what I'm going to get with Atlanta's offense either, because the last 2 weeks, it's been pretty stale.
And you know what? When you don't know what either team's going to give you, you go with the Northeast team, outdoors. Come on, here we go. Nice cold day, little breeze blowing. Matty Ryan's balls floating up there, a little weeble wobble in the air.
Yeah.
You know what? Come on. Jets.
You're even wearing the Jets green today too. It's fitting. Yeah, no, I can't do it. I probably should.
And this is where I gain a game on you guys.
I know.
Thank you very much.
I know.
Got you right where I want.
I'm sticking with Atlanta, but I'm not happy about it.
Good.
We've got the 49ers on the road at the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles coming off of a 34-24 win over the Redskins. The Niners. And the Niners.
You don't have to say anything about the Niners. The Niners are in trouble. They're just in trouble. They're an organization that's upside down, and the Eagles have everything going for them. No, I'm not going to pick the Niners. This is not happening. Sean was over there like, you could see him was giving me the look going, pick them. Pick the Niners. Pick the Niners. Come on. Like that little devil on his shoulder. Come on, dudes, pick them. No one's got to take the Niners.
He's right,
No, going with Philly.
Yeah, I can't really blame you there. Like I said earlier, the Eagles have everything rolling for them right now, too. I don't see anything that the Niners bring offensively or defensively, really, that's going to slow down Carson Wentz or how strong the Eagles' defense has been this season. Sean?
I was wrong about the Chargers game. I was wrong about the Redskins game. But this game is the ultimate trap game for the Eagles.
You're not doing it, are you?
Let him do it.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners won their first game here. Eagles, 2 horrible injuries. They lost Hicks and Peters for the season. I'm still picking the Eagles, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Niners won this one.
You almost had me there. I was like hook, line, and sinker on the Niners. Okay. Good point about the injuries, but again, I just don't see San Francisco pulling it off here.
I heard the update, though, that Peters' injury might not be as bad as they first thought, so he may not be lost for the season. I think we're going to find out. I think he was having an MRI today, but I think the report this morning that came out was that maybe it was not as bad of a knee injury as they had thought.
For the Eagles' sake, I know they hope so.
Yeah, who already was without 2 linebackers last night. They were out Kendricks and one of their guys got hurt last night. Which linebacker? There was a linebacker who was hurt last night.
Can't remember off the top of my head. Anyhow,
so they were down 2 linebackers, and to lose your left tackle in the NFL is like, well, that's huge. So.
Well, unless you're the Giants.
Well, unless you're the Giants.
Let's wrap it up here with the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road at the Detroit Lions. Mike, who have you got in this one?
I'm taking the Steelers in this. I think the Lions are who we thought they were. They're a pretty good team. They're not a great team. And I think the Steelers' defense is very good. Very good. Their defensive line, TJ Watt's looking outstanding this year. I love to watch that guy. I'd want him on my team. It looks like the Steelers got a steal with getting him.
No question.
So, it's Pittsburgh.
Sean?
Yeah, Le'Veon Bell seems to be back, so that's huge for the Steelers. The Lions seem to be in games most of the time at the end of games, but I got to go with the Steelers. Their defense is looking great, too.
I'm picking Pittsburgh here as well. The Lions, really their only weapon all season long has been Matt Stafford, and against the Pittsburgh Steelers, that's not going to be enough. To your point, Bell's looked great. The defense looks like the old Pittsburgh Steelers defense that we've come to know. So I don't see. I mean, it's especially as we've seen these last couple of weeks. Anything can happen in this league, but I'm picking Pittsburgh to come out on top over Detroit. That's all we've got for today's episode. Be sure to tune in next week for a new episode on Wednesday with a special guest and another edition of our football picks on Thursday. To find out who our special guest will be and to find all of our links, you can find us on Twitter at Pocono Podcast. This podcast can be found on YouTube, iTunes, SoundCloud, and Stitcher. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment wherever and however you're listening. We want to hear from you, our listeners, and see what you have to say. And if you subscribe, you'll never miss any of our newest episodes. This podcast has been brought to you by PoconoRecord.com/contests. Last year, we gave away over $20,000 in prizes, so be sure to visit often to see what we're giving away next. Again, that is PoconoRecord.com/contests. That's all we've got today. Thanks for listening, and until next time, take care.